Well, welcome everyone. Let me first thank Deputy Minister Lee Sung-ho for his comprehensive keynote address and entertaining a few questions to kick off today's discussions. My name is Dylan Davis, and I am the Associate Director of the UC Berkeley Institute of East Asian Studies. We're really excited to be moderating this important panel discussion on cracking the code, how to encourage more girls to pursue STEM, as part of a summit organized by the Asia Foundation in partnership with the U.S. Department of State and the Middlebury Institute of International Studies at Monterey, among other partners. During this panel discussion, we'll explore some of the innovative strategies from academia, civil society, private sector on challenging societal prejudices and assumptions that steer young girls away from pursuing STEM careers. We're also going to discuss what needs to happen in the classroom, at home, and in the community, in wider society to ignite the interest and confidence girls need to follow a path to a STEM career. First, two quick technical notes. We'll be sharing some of the guidance around accessing live interpretation, the Summit Slack channel in the chat box. If you look over to the right-hand side of your screen, you'll see that. If anyone is having technical issues with WebEx, we have a WebEx representative who can support you, and feel free to enter requests into the Q&A box as well, as any questions you'd like the panelists to respond to during the Q&A portion of today's session. I'll continue to remind everybody about that Q&A box, but just feel free to add questions as they come up. I'm joined today by three esteemed panelists who have extensive expertise in girls and young women's pursuit of STEM education and careers in their respective countries. First, we have Tara Chklovski, who's the CEO and founder of the global tech education nonprofit Technovation, prominently featured in the award-winning documentary Code Girl. Forbes named Chklovski the pioneer empowering the incredible tech girls of the future. The Discovery Science Channel named her the first CEO Science Superstar Hero for her work encouraging the next generation of innovators, problem solvers, and game changers. Next, we have Liz Lee, who's the COO and co-founder of the digital agency Telepathy in South Korea. She's also the co-managing director of the Korean chapter of the global nonprofit organization Girls in Tech, which is focused on the engagement, education, and empowerment of women in technology. Her past experiences include time at the Korea Trade Investment Promotion Agency, as well as the Kangwon Art and Culture Foundation. And we also have Sachiko Nakajima, who has a very diverse background. She's a jazz pianist, but she's a mathematician, STEAM educator, STEAM meaning science, technology, engineering, the arts, and mathematics. And she's a gold medalist of International Mathematical Olympiad. She currently serves as the Chief Executive Officer of STEAM Incorporated, as well as the Director of STEAM Sports Laboratory. Sachiko was also appointed the STEM Girls Ambassador by the Japanese Cabinet Office. So thank you all for joining us today for this important discussion on how to encourage more girls and young women to pursue STEM studies and careers in our respective countries. Before we get started with the discussion, I'd like to ask the audience a few questions just to get a better idea of who's out there. You'll see two questions with multiple choice answers appear on your screen. Please select only one answer for each and make sure you hit the submit button. Please answer now as the poll will close in about a minute. First question that you'll see is, in your opinion, which source contributes most to dissuading girls and young women away from pursuing careers in STEM? Is it A, media messaging, such as film, TV, social media, that STEM is for boys and not girls? Is it B, family and friends' attitudes and beliefs? Is it our parents, our grandparents, our schoolmates, neighbors, etc.? Or is it C, is it school? The teachers, school staff, curriculum, institutional organization of schools. Which one do you feel contributes most to dissuading girls and young women away from pursuing careers in STEM? And the second question, which you'll see up there in the polling box, is what is your personal interest in girls in STEM that's closely connected to your role? Are you a policymaker? Are you B, a person working on gender equality and girls empowerment, women's empowerment issues, and or diversity, equity, and inclusion issues? Are you C, are you a person working in a STEM field? Or are you D, options B and C? So take a minute to look at those. Please answer one and hit the submit button, and then we'll have the results just appear and you'll be able to see them. And I'll move on to some opening remarks here. All right, looks like we have a 50% response rate. We're waiting for just a few more. Go ahead and hit that submit button if you haven't already. I know when I was participating yesterday, I forgot to hit the submit button, so be sure to do that. And we'll make sure we get up to 100% participation here. Maybe give it about 10 more seconds and then we'll move on to the results. All right, we'll leave these up just so you can see who's out there and what your interests are. And I don't know if you can, you'll be able to expand in that poll box. You'll be able to expand it so you can see the full answers there and the results. We'll just leave it up there for a while, but let me move on because time is short today. Next slide, please. Oh, there we go. Good. Before we hear from our presenters, let me share a few thoughts. When we ask ourselves the question, how do we encourage more girls to pursue STEM careers? We must first imagine STEM through the eyes of girls. In her article, Keeping Girls in STEM, 3 Barriers, 3 Solutions, education journalist and teacher Carly Berwick points out the common occurrence that when children think of mathematicians and scientists, they often think of socially awkward men who wear glasses. In fact, Berwick goes on to describe recent studies where children were asked to draw a mathematician or scientist, and guess what? And girls were twice as likely to draw men as they were to draw women, while boys almost universally drew men, often in a lab coat. So no real surprises there, but the obvious is apparent. All around the world, female role models in STEM are few and far between. And young girls are bombarded by images online and in pop culture that tell them subconsciously that they are not welcome in STEM fields. In 2012, the Gina Davis Institute on Gender and Media analyzed occupations in children's media and found that for every 15 male characters shown in STEM jobs, there was only 1 female character portrayed in a STEM profession. And when girls in their formative years don't see female characters on screen as biochemists or software developers or engineers or statisticians, they're less likely to imagine or pursue those career paths for themselves. As the Institute has said, if you can't see it, you can't be it. And so it's not surprising then that there's a wide gap among children and young adults that pursue studies and activities in STEM areas. The low proportion of women in STEM globally leads to the spread of gender stereotypical image of math and science as a male domain and beliefs about male supremacy in technical and math-intensive fields. In turn, such beliefs affect young people's career choices, leading to mutual reinforcement of gender stereotypes and gender gaps in career-related interests and choices. Next slide, please. What's notable is that girls in the US and other countries at the elementary and middle school level are likely to perform equal to or better than boys on math tests. No news there. We've been hearing about this for years. This trend continues as they enter high school. Their scores are on the same level as boys in advanced science and math courses. However, as they get closer to finishing secondary school, girls' participation in STEM classes begins to drop off. There are many reasons why this happens. This includes girls beginning to self-select non-STEM related courses to conform to societal ideals of femininity. Or if they try to pursue STEM studies, they may be discouraged both consciously and subconsciously by family and teachers, the media, and some of the other influences that we discussed previously. So now we'll hear from our speakers on the research and observations they've made regarding their issue of gender and diversity in STEM. While they present, I encourage you to all submit questions that come to mind in the Q&A box. And if you can, please include your name and organization. Our first panelist, Tara Chklovski of Technovation, will further explore some of the barriers that prevent girls and women from learning STEM skills, such as coding and remaining in STEM fields for the long term. Tara will also touch on the challenges that girls and young women face right now during the COVID-19 global pandemic. Tara, let me turn it over to you.
Thank you, Dylan. Welcome, everyone. So I just wanted to start off by talking about how big and how deep the issue is. I was surprised to learn, and I've been running Technovation for many years, that women are still legally discriminated against in 150 countries. And this issue is getting worse with COVID, as we heard. So, of course, we know that domestic violence has been getting worse, but the piece that really made me surprised was that even women scientists are their careers are being affected. So they are publishing less, and there's a citation there from Nature where since COVID started earlier this year, the rate of their scientific research and publications have dropped significantly, while those of their male counterparts has actually increased. And so even higher education is not a buffer or a security. So this is a cold reality. But everyone, and thanks to this panel as well, I mean, we recognize that, and the UN just released some recommendations, and I pulled out a few that I think would relate specifically to STEM education organizations. And the very first is to make sure that girls and women are at the center of all COVID recovery response and decision making. And then, of course, there's the longer term work of building capacity. And this is where STEM education plays a huge role, especially around technology. Technology is the most powerful tool that we have, and we need to bring that into the hands of the most vulnerable. And then specifically, I think working to raise awareness around gender-based violence and behavior change at home, starting with the equal sharing of work. And this is the way, this is very, very messy, hard work to change people's attitudes, but this is what's needed. And actually technology can be a very powerful solution, as I will share in some of the next slides. So Technovation, our mission is to empower girls and families to use cutting-edge technologies to solve problems that they face. And we've been running for roughly 14 years. And we were part of the coding movement that started. It has, I mean, the coding movement or the drive to bring computational thinking into K through 12 is a very old movement, but a lot of money has been invested over the past 15 years or so, including, and our organization has benefited. So I was curious to see, the goal was to increase the number of women, the number of people of color in computer science, and I was curious over the span of 10 years, what impact had this coding movement made? And what I was shocked to see was that the number of women computer science undergraduates in the US has actually decreased by 2% since 2006. The number of African Americans CS undergraduates has also decreased by roughly 3%. And the Latinx community, Hispanics, has increased slightly, but it's also because the population has grown much larger than the other populations. And so that made me wonder, well, what went wrong? So we did a literature review of roughly about 150 research articles around computational thinking, computer science teaching, technology teaching, especially with groups like women and people and communities of color. And there were 4 things that emerged. The first was that it's actually quite easy to teach content, and learning how to code is not difficult, but it's not going to make a lasting change in your attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors if the curriculum doesn't address purpose. So if students are not being able to understand how to apply this content, then it's not going to make a lasting change in how they view these tools. Secondly, all of these are related, but secondly, learning how to code, learning sort of the syntax doesn't mean you can actually solve problems with it. And so you have to go beyond, every STEM program has to go beyond just the content, but you have to add on this pretty hard piece of being able to apply it. And third most important was that, again, it's very easy to put curriculum online, have millions of views, not very easy, but easy. But if you don't have mentorship at every level, if you don't involve the parents, then you'll have attrition at every level, including in the workforce. So people don't like this kind of messy, people-focused interventions, but that's what's needed because we're still stuck in the same place as we were 10 years ago. So in the end, it comes down to actually building the capability of individuals, and that's the goal that we need to set for ourselves. So very quickly, Technovation, the way we work is we connect mentors to girls. We have them work through a 12-week program where they find problems in their community and solve basically along the UnSdgs. We've reached about 300,000 participants so far, a third of a million, and we've figured out how to sort of have mentorship, a high quality curriculum at scale. And some of the examples that our girls of the problems that they tackle are absolutely amazing, right? And these are solutions that you would never see coming out of Silicon Valley. And this is why it is so important to have a diverse set of voices as innovators and inventors. So the one on the top left is a girl who created an app. It's a simulation app that helps you walk in the shoes of a person who may be a victim of racism. Really trying to sort of build empathy. The one on the top right is an app created by 2 orphans in India to help orphanages track the data of the children as they move from one social worker to another. The one on the bottom right is a team from this year from Ireland. They created an app for one of the girls' grandmothers who's a dementia patient, and it has a very complex set of features to help the family take care, but also for the patient herself. So over the years, what we found was that this long 12-week program is very powerful and, of course, helping the girls feel confident that they can apply STEM skills to real-world problems. It increases their interest. But what we also realized is that there are some elements of this that are critical to making sure that their attitudes are changed for life. And the mentorship piece that I mentioned is a powerful one, as well as the last part of sharing their idea and innovation with the community. Because when they publicly share their idea, it's unforgettable when you see a 10-year-old girl stand up and talk about her app that helps her parents be more equitable in how they share household chores. This was a little girl from Uzbekistan who really didn't like how she had to do all the household chores while her brother played video games. And so she created this app for more equitable sharing. And it tracked how biased it was to begin with. And so when the broader community sees that kind of innovation coming from someone so young, it's a very dramatic shift in attitudes. And that's one thing that we learned, that it cannot just be curriculum, it cannot just be an online video, it does have to have some sort of community element. And what we are learning is that beyond measuring interest, what you really need to measure is, are we building the capability of these young women? And what it means is, are we tangibly increasing resources, their voice, influence, agency, and tangible achievements? And that's for the individual. And then all of this building towards more resilient communities. So whenever you empower the marginalized groups and you bring in technology and you have a challenge of civic engagement, that's the secret to building a more resilient community. And so at the heart of this is the recovery plan for all societies that are suffering from COVID. And I think it could be nothing more powerful than bringing young women and arming them with technology tools to help rebuild our communities.
Great. Well, thank you, Tara, for that. And now we'll hear from Liz Lee of Girls in Tech Korea on connecting young women to educational opportunities that will help them pursue their ambitions and prepare for careers in STEM fields. Liz, go ahead and unmute yourself, and over to you.
Thank you, Dylan, for the warm welcome and introduction. Hello, everyone. I am Hyun-sung Liz Lee, the founder and COO of my company, Telepathy, and the volunteer managing director of Girls in Tech Korea. I am honored to be here with you today to discuss how to encourage more girls to pursue STEM in this virtual trilateral event on women's leadership. Before we dive into our subject a little deeper, and I introduce you to Girls in Tech and our efforts, I want to direct you to a question to think about how girls, specifically how Korean girls, are perceived in general and why that is. I'll share a little bit of my experience growing up, attending international schools in Peru, Indonesia, and more. Oh, I have definitely heard, "You're Korean, so you must be good at math," and which was empirically partially true. As an Asian girl, we were thought to be smart in silence and shy away from speaking up and taking leadership positions. Whether we like it or not, girls and boys live in a world where our predecessors have laid a foundation for assumed behaviors. There is no right or wrong answer, just an observation of the present, the choices we make as to how we respond, and a curious mind to question what to make out of that bias. How do we respond when we are told we are something when we are not? Some will try to prove them wrong. Some will submit without ever challenging. We cannot have a one-size-fits-all approach when we attempt to encourage girls to pursue STEM. We need to offer a variety of options for individuals to choose from. After all, it takes a village to raise a child. Thanks to advances in technology, the world is now more connected and information is readily available should one decide to seek for resources. Tech is rapidly evolving, and if I may borrow the words of Adriana Gascoigne, founder and CEO of Girls in Tech, it is our responsibility to steer the technological advancement in the right direction. Think back 5-10 years. How was life back then? What are some things that you own or use now that did not exist back then? For example, I order Starbucks on my phone. I now basically order everything online instead of physically going to stores. I now can even send gifts to friends via a chat platform. And all of this were not available 10 years ago. Women make up half the population of the world, which means we are half the consumers of all products. Tech is every industry. Tech is every company. And tech is everyone. Tech needs you and your input just as you are, because product development that's happening today will soon be our future. Next slide, please. Girls in Tech acknowledges that women go through many different changes in their career lifetime. From the time they're starting out as a junior, then moving up to middle career, then on to leadership positions. At every stage, women face new challenges, some very personal, that they need a supportive community to cheer them on. Women, we are required to put on different hats that require totally different skill sets. And we feel like we need to ace them all. This can be exhausting, but in these times when we feel like we're losing control, we need to think like Thomas A. Edison and tell ourselves, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. And what's most valuable about Girls in Tech is that we create a safe environment and space for women with different backgrounds, ages, and experiences to share their stories and learn from each other. Girls in Tech Global has more than 60,000 members across 54 chapters in 37 countries. The Korea chapter has been established in 2014, and we have more than 4,000 followers. We try to eliminate the gender gap by providing experiences and educational opportunities that leave people feeling inspired to pursue their dreams, empowered to be their best selves, connected to a supportive community, prepared to pursue modern careers, confident throughout their journey. Next slide, please. To successfully carry out the mission we discussed in the last slide, we offer a variety of events for girls and women to thrive in tech. We offer education and opportunities to learn new skills that be providing different ways to think with Design Thinking Bootcamp or Startup Breakthroughs Bootcamp, and implant the entrepreneurial mindset or coding bootcamps. We also put much effort into community building, where we highlight the successes of females around us to share their journeys and learn from them. Lastly, a great perk of being a global organization is that you can join our global mentorship program, where you're able to connect with great minds across the globe. Being authentic, being curious, and being able to share your stories and celebrating the continual learning and the continual growing will most likely make change. I want to take this moment to remind all of you that the entire universe wants you to succeed. Organizations like Girls in Tech are in every corner of your communities should you choose to search for them. If not, we encourage you to start your own. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. I hope it's early in the morning over there. I hope you're able to order your Starbucks on your phone and get it delivered at some time. I know you got on a test call much earlier than this too, so thank you for doing this at such an early hour and great presentation. Just a reminder to everybody online here, please go ahead and enter your questions in the Q&A chat box. We'll go ahead and get those submitted to each of the speakers in a moment. But last, I'd like to invite Sachiko, who will present on her work as a STEM Girls Ambassador in Japan. Sachiko is also an outspoken proponent of the joy of co-creation and the creative possibilities of STEAM. So Sachiko, please go ahead and unmute yourself, and it's over to you.
Thank you, Dylan. So hello, I'm very honored to be here in this panel to encourage more girls to pursue STEM and STEAM. So I'm Sachiko Nakajima from Tokyo, Japan. I'm having a diversity myself. I'm a jazz pianist, mathematician, STEAM educator, media artist, mother, and entrepreneur. I'm graduating from NYU ITP. And I have been promoting STEAM education in Japan by my company STEAM Inc., partially with Learning Innovation Project by Ministry of Economy. Also, I'm a STEM Girls Ambassador, as well as athletic pavilion producer in World Expo 2025. And I won the gold medal at International Mathematical Olympiad before. Next, please. Yeah, so as we have been passionate to deliver the joy and the beauty of mathematics and science to more people, especially girls, one thing we did is to start Sudhi Joshi workshops for girls and their mothers. Sudhi means math and science, and Joshi means girls. But Sudhi Joshi basically refers to the specific website. On the website of Sudhi Joshi, we love to show attractive, diversified beauty of mathematical words from various viewpoints, like artists, fashion designers, engineers, data scientists, neuroscientists, announcers, TV producers, etc. Also, through these activities, we have been building the warm, safe networks of women math researchers all over Japan. Here, we ourselves can share various joys, concerns, and practical issues around us, which are not so easy to be shared among just a very few women in one university or close community. Also, as a STEM Girls Ambassador by Gender Equality Bureau Cabinet Office, we have been delivering mini talks all over Japan for girls and their parents. In Japan, even now, it seems that some mothers say, if you major in mathematics or engineering, you may not be able to get any jobs or even get married, daughter, or something, which are not at all true anymore, as you may know. So here in these talks, we are trying to show various chances of STEM women career and how playful and valuable it is to pursue STEM as women. Also, we are trying to be ourselves, showing how we got motivated into STEM or how we've been struggling to choose a current career or what's been strongly driving us to go forward further in STEM. What I like is that each story is totally different. So I believe the key to the success in your life is to listen to your heart and to be yourself. Even if you're slow or bad at something, but if you have any interests or passions of your own, I believe you can discover or invent something unique in your life ahead. So I think the casual talks by STEM senior women mean a lot to encourage young girls or mothers to be themselves and to connect on their own likes, regardless of any unconscious bias around them. Next, please. Yeah, here, as you can see, I've been so lucky to enjoy these beautiful, mischievous, playful smiles of girls in various STEAMs workshops. So STEAMs means STEM plus arts and sports. So for example, in the Sudhi Joshi math design workshops with University of Tokyo, girls and mothers did really great jobs in discovering the unique mathematics from various designs. And after that, they created original designs based on mathematical symmetries, which the Dutch artist Maurice Escher also used. I also did these kind of workshops in New York and Dominican Republic to encourage more people to enjoy the creative beauty of mathematics and the dynamic relations of math and design. And here the motto is that you are the mathematician or engineers or artists. And we focus on basically two aspects: to discover STEM and to create something with STEM. Also here, we try to give them open and creative questions in order not to limit themselves into what is correct or not, or yes or no. So in the safety zone where you can tinker a lot with your friends and be yourself, you can find your own ways to enjoy STEM. We also did online STEAM play school, for example, to make a slime something, or a machine learning AI game, or product design with math, and found many girls got observed with multisensory experiences, creative social ideas, and art or logical thinking through the attractive world of mixed STEAM. We also developed interdisciplinary STEAM connecting agriculture and robotics, traffic jam and simulation, music, math, coding, as well as STEAM with sports. In the STEAM sports workshops, sometimes we create some playful mathematical model like the board game simulation. On the board game, of course, everything is totally simplified, and sometimes you might feel that, oh, it is too different from the real complex game on the field. However, if the model is good, that can tell you a lot about why it's better to run this way or to pass the ball to whom, etc., where you can spend lots of time to think over. It can also grow your meta recognitions, which is very critical to live out this 21st century. Also in the sports, there are lots of data which are usually sensed by experiences. But by visualizing the hidden data of the sports, children, including girls, get more and more confidence to think and try actively by themselves, regardless of their athletic talents, which can also improve their physical skills and collaborative skills after all. I believe this kind of mixed STEAMs learning can draw more attentions of diversified girls into their own STEM. Lastly, next please. Yeah, thank you. Though I have been developing and providing lots of STEAM with many girls in Japan, generally speaking, yet we have to admit that we have lots of issues left about STEM and gender or diversity, especially in engineering and mathematics, as shown here. I think what is also bad about it in Japan is that we don't even get enough data to tell how these kind of issues are critical. I know that many scientific or educational events, robotics contests, science conferences are losing some gender balance, obviously, but we don't have enough data to prove that. For example, in 2018, we had just 6% of women ratio in math doctoral degree recipients, which is kind of decreasing actually. But this number had been revealed by being counted manually. So I also really wish to promote the awareness of the gender gap based on the data, not only for girls, but also for anyone who has diversified, unique value of yourself. And I hope to get more connections with US and Korea on this topic as well, so that we can enjoy more free, creative, playful STEAM beyond any boundaries. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sachiko. We'll now turn to some questions. And I see questions have already come in, and keep them coming. If you wish to add a question, please do so. So we'll turn to a few of the questions. The first one is for Tara. Maybe the screen will change a little bit here, so we can give it just a moment here. Yeah, the first question for Tara. Let's see here. In addition to technical skills such as coding, AI, and systems thinking, why are life skills like confidence, collaboration, problem solving, and leadership important to helping girls enter and succeed in STEM fields? And what are some effective ways of supporting girls and young women to develop these skills? Tara, maybe go ahead and unmute, and if you can answer that first question.
I mean, I think any one of us working in the world recognizes that we need to work with people, and anyone who has worked with one other person recognizes how you need to be empathetic, you need to collaborate, you need to communicate well. I mean, these are the soft skills, but unless you're sort of, even a researcher working in a university needs to collaborate with other scientists. So I think the kinds of problems that we're tackling now are complex, and they need a pretty integrated team supporting them. So it's, I mean, any corporation, if you look at their job descriptions, must be a team player, right? I mean, I don't know of any resume, whatever, like a job description that says, oh, I want arrogant individuals who work on their own, who know a lot, but cannot apply it. So I would say that. And in terms of strategies for supporting girls, and I don't think this is a gender specific thing, it's more like if you're new to any kind of topic, it's any motivation theory, there are 4 pillars to it. You need to see why you should do it. So mentors play a great role. Movies, videos. Very common phrases. You cannot be what you cannot see, like you said. So that's one. Second is your parents need to be supportive. They need to be cheerleaders. And they are gatekeepers, like in the poll that you mentioned, right? Like if your family is not supportive, it's going to be a hard battle for you. And third, the actual learning experience needs to be fun. The goal needs to be made very clear, like a video game, right? Like you need to identify with the end goal. And usually the fastest way to do that is to help the student identify a problem that they are very eager to tackle. So just content is not enough to drive long-term attitude change, especially for groups that have been marginalized. So I would say that's the third part. And the last one is make it fun so that the adrenaline is pumping. And then that physiological reaction really cements the learning. So having all 4 of these is not easy to do, but that's what's needed.
Thanks, Tara. Liz, I have a question for you. You mentioned in your presentation the importance of creating these spaces where women with different backgrounds, ages, geographies, race, identity, and the experience can interact. Can you talk about some of the promising practices for supporting intergenerational approaches to STEM, including girls and women from different ages to mutually learn and benefit from one another's skills and experiences?
Yes, so I think Tara also mentioned it, but I think it's mentorship. I think especially in Korea, and there's this hierarchical cultural background where older people tend to know more. They need to have all the answers and all that, and younger ones have to learn from them, but it has to be mutual. Cultivating mentors as well as mentees, and actually just mentors, because once I saw a video of Simon Sinek describing what a mentor-mentee relationship should be like, and it was basically a mentor relationship where both sides learn from each other. So the individual has to want to grow and be someone that others want to learn from you, so that you can give as well as learn from others. So I think because age is just one aspect. It's all about the experiences that an individual has that can share, and people who are listening to these stories can learn from. So I think mentorship is very important, as well as sharing of those stories.
Yeah, that reminds me. So it's just an activity. It probably doesn't apply to just women in STEM fields, but any activity where you have different generations, different ages, you might, get the people from different backgrounds and experiences and put them together as a cohort so they can be that mentor-mentor kind of relationship. That might be one thing that you work on in your programs as well.
We are working on it. Yes.
It's hard. It's definitely hard. Sachiko, I have a question for you. As you mentioned in your presentation, there's this interdisciplinary schemes. Again, STEM plus arts plus sports, activities that are gaining traction among young people. How can educational institutions, the NGOs, and even parents and families leverage girls' interest in the arts and sports and use it as an entry point for young women and girls to consider careers in STEM?
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. I think it's a great question, and I think I have a great one example. So once in the STEAM tag rugby workshop, we had some children who said that I hate mathematics, and they loved tag rugby, but they hated mathematics. However, after the session, and by knowing how mathematics or coding can help you understand the sports and improve your physical skills or team skills, they really got absorbed into math explorations during the day, and actually didn't stop until midnight. So I think this is a very symbolic example. So by showing some data with science or mathematics behind arts and sports, or giving some help to make your own device to get those scientific data with the power of technology and engineering, I think we can ignite their interest into STEM. Yes, and I think the key in the STEAM program making is to create a cycle of knowing and exploring, knowing and creating with a passion in the center. So maybe the organizations or parents around them can give them some hints to let them discover some STEM and let them make full use of those kind of discoveries during their explorations. And also mentorship is very important as well. Yeah, so I think we can do a lot. And we also developed a lot of interdisciplinary schemes. Not curriculums, it's more like frameworks or models, and maybe we can share and collaborate over any boundaries. Yes.
Sachiko, another question came in for you. So maybe while you're on, stay there a moment. It's just Sudhi Joshi. A question came in: is it just for mathematics or for other in all STEM areas? And how can one join that?
Okay. Thank you so much. So actually, Sudhi Joshi is actually we are focusing. As for Sudhi Joshi, we are focusing mathematics and science. And there is a website, maybe I can type later. Yeah, that is a website where you can find many articles about those kind of relations with math or science with other areas. But as for the workshop, it's kind of temporarily held. And maybe if you can email to us, maybe we can share more information. And also we have many other workshops, not just on mathematics or science, but also on engineering or technology. Yes. So maybe I will send you my email address so that maybe we can collaborate. Yes.
Great. Sachiko, if you don't mind adding to the chat box that website about maybe email address if you're okay. And we have other ways to interact with each other too as part of this conference. So please do continue the conversation in those ways. This is a question for any of the panelists. It's a short one, so jump in. Maybe Liz or Tara next. But Sachiko, please feel free to jump in. Is how has COVID affected girls in STEM differently? Tara, Liz, do either one of you want to jump in and try to tackle that question? How COVID has impacted girls in STEM differently?
So we run Technovation. It's a 12-week program, and it starts from basically January ending into April. And so this was when COVID started, and we saw roughly a 20% decline in the number of girls who were able to complete it, primarily because of lack of access to devices, internet, but also lack of access to mentors because they were used to in-person connections, and mid-season people were unable to set up virtual connections. But now, of course, schools and organizations and individuals and families are much better set up for virtual interactions. So I think that, and then just the fact that girls are shouldering just so much more work at home. And a lot of the surveys say that they feel very unsafe at home compared to when they were going to school. So those are things that are not, unfortunately, very, very, very true.
Great, thank you. I don't know if everybody can see that, but Sachiko's added some websites and email addresses to the chat session, but maybe we'll pull it out, make sure everybody can see it. I'll ask those behind the scenes to make sure that happens. Liz, Sachiko, do you want to answer that question in any way? If not, I can move on. How has COVID affected girls in STEM differently? Either one of you want to chime in there?
Yeah, okay. So as for Japan, we actually had kind of lacked the technology in the workforce before. So actually, as for Japan, due to COVID-19, it's easier for women to work at home and work more flexible in a manner. So I think it actually encouraged more women to work more freely, I think. So there is some positive phase as for this year. Of course, COVID is not a good one, but but still it can promote a lot. So, but I know that there is also a negative side, and I saw the number of losing workforce, and the female losing percentage is worse. So, but maybe we can share those kind of numbers, nationwide, and yes, maybe we can think more. But as for Japan, I think it's actually promoting more flexible ways to work. Yes, and I think it can encourage people to go into STEM field because, as for STEM, sometimes it's very hard to work all day, but if we can be flexible more, it's far better for women, I think.
One thing the COVID-19 pandemic has taught us all, or many of us who have more flexible job working environments, that this remote working and the technology that's there to support it is definitely a real thing, and we're able to do it so much more and prove that we're able to do it is one thing that this helped many of us do. So thank you, Sachiko. Liz, would you like to add anything? If not, I'm happy to go to the next question.
Just to add, I think COVID and working from home, working remotely, I think encouraged dads to jump in with the housework and taking care of kids. And I think that's something Korean women really appreciated, but there's still a lot of room for improvement. And I think, but in a bigger view, I think it had effect on women in terms of job losses, and I think Korean government agencies and organizations as such like us, we're determined to track the numbers and the statistics that reflect on the actual impacts of COVID. So we're still like gathering the numbers and data.
Thanks, Liz. Tara, I have a question for you. And others feel free to jump in on this one as well, but let me direct it to Tara. This is on metrics and measurement tools. What kind of metrics and measurement tools do you use to measure progress made in advancing the participation of women and girls in STEM?
So I think, like I mentioned, we do pre and post surveys right before and after the program for measuring interest, content, knowledge, but then the prototypes that the girls create are reviewed by judges. The judges are trained. We have roughly 4,000 or 5,000 judges who review the prototypes that the girls create, and the rubric is a pretty rigorous one based on the innovation of the prototype, the technical learning, efficacy, the difficulty of the problem, how it aligns with humanitarian challenges. And then we do interviews on a regular basis. We then collate all the data by country by country level, and then we try to map what were our inputs, what were the resources that we put in towards the program, what did it have. We also do pre and post surveys for mentors and educators who are volunteering. So these are also the ways in which we do quality control.
Liz, Sachiko, would you like to add anything about quality control, metrics, measurement of your programs, and how, if you have, government grants or any grant, I imagine they want to know some metrics. Is there anything that you use that's unique or just in general?
Yeah, the quality control is very, very important. So yeah, in order to develop these kind of explorations, everyone doesn't have to be the expertise, like experts. So like teachers don't have to know everything or this kind of thing. But still, I think in kind of collaborating with many diversified experts in these kind of explorations, we can kind of ensure the quality and and also maybe government or the regional government also can support to build those kind of networks or ecosystem of industries or academics or schools or something like that. So yeah, I'm not sure if it's answering to your question, but I definitely think that the quality control is very important. Yes.
Great, thank you. And let me just wrap up with one last question for Liz, if I may. Liz, question that's coming for you is, do you have any advice for young women just interested in going into STEM and founding or leading their own company? What skills should they look to develop? How do you identify and connect with the right mentors for you?
That's a hard question and a good question. I think the skill sets for an entrepreneur, I think, is having a clear vision and mission and your purpose, and to be able to relay on your thoughts to your team members, because you have to rely on team members to help your business grow. As for finding mentors, I think you just have to network a lot. That be of going to conferences and trying to engage in conversations with speakers or other participants. That also helps, but in this COVID situations, it may be a little bit difficult, but reaching out to people in the industry that you are needing help in, I think that also helps, because just knock on the door and ask, and people you'll be surprised to see how many people are willing to help you, to listen to you, and to give you advice and guidance. So just really reaching out first, and and presenting yourself in such a way that these mentors want to also have you as their mentor.
Great. Thank you, Liz. All right. Well, that was, we have other questions, but we're out of time. So let me just take this moment to thank everyone. We have had a phenomenal group of panelists here, Tara Chklovski, Liz Lee, Sachiko Nakajima. Well, thank you for sharing your invaluable work and experiences with us. I'd like to also thank our audience for joining us today for this important discussion. And lastly, thank you to our interpreters. I don't know if you know, but we have Japanese and Korean going simultaneous consecutive interpretation, and they've done a phenomenal job as well as the staff behind the scenes who have worked tirelessly not only to shape the content of this 4-day summit, but to really make sure everyone is well prepared for a virtual format across different time zones. We encourage everyone to continue the conversation and to network with other STEM professionals by joining the STEM Trilateral Slack group and engaging with us on social media. And now we'll move on to the next panel. We're looking forward to it very much. It's strengthening the pipeline from university to private industry, which we'll get started in just a minute. So thank you, everyone. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back.